It is early morning on June 6, 1944. The quiet of the English Channel is broken only by the sound of waves crashing against the hulls of landing craft. The air is thick with tension, as soldiers wait in silence, each lost in their thoughts, knowing that what lies ahead will alter the course of history. They are young men, from all walks of life, some barely out of their teens, some with families waiting back home. Many are quiet, reflecting on the enormity of what they are about to do. The soldiers are on edge. This is D-Day. The sun has barely begun to rise as thousands of men, backed by tanks and artillery, are about to storm the beaches of Normandy. For the soldiers of the 29th Infantry Division, the 1st Infantry Division, and the 4th Infantry Division, this moment represents the culmination of years of planning, training, and sacrifice. They are part of an Allied invasion force that for months has been preparing for this day. It is called Operation Overlord, the largest amphibious invasion in history, and it is aimed at breaking the Nazi grip on Western Europe. But among these men, there is a unique presence. As the boats cut through the water, there is an aura of fierce resolve and pride. The 29th Infantry Division, composed of soldiers from the United States, is not just made up of any ordinary men. It includes a battalion that will make history that day, the 369th Infantry Regiment, better known as the Harlem Hellfighters. These men are part of the first African American regiments to see combat in World War II. They are a symbol of the strength, resilience, and courage that will soon redefine the American military and shift the tide of the war. In the distance, the dark cliffs of Normandy loom. The beach ahead, codenamed Omaha, is defended by German forces who have dug in deep, their positions reinforced with mines, barbed wire, and artillery. This is the site of what will be one of the bloodiest battles of World War II. The enemy is well prepared. They know what is coming, and they are ready to fight to the death. As the landing craft approach the shore, the men stand at the ready. For them, this is the moment they have trained for, the moment they've dreamed of and feared. The sea is rough, and many are seasick from the long journey. But there is no turning back now. The invasion has begun. The sound of artillery shells echoes across the water as the first barrage hits the beach. The men brace themselves. The beach is alive with the sound of gunfire and explosions. Soldiers fall, struck down by enemy fire, their screams carried away by the wind. The chaos is unimaginable, yet the men of the 369th remain focused. Their hearts beat with determination and their resolve hardens. For them, this moment is more than just a battle for land. It is a battle for dignity, for recognition, for a future where they are no longer treated as second-class citizens. The chaos of the landing is overwhelming. The roar of gunfire, the shouts of commanders, the crash of bombs falling from above, and the screams of men in pain. It is a sensory overload, but amidst the destruction, a sense of purpose burns within them. They push forward, moving through the chaos with an unwavering determination. The Germans may have the advantage in numbers and fortifications, but these soldiers have something the enemy cannot see coming. A fierce pride in their mission and a fierce desire to prove themselves. This is the moment that will forever define their place in history. This is the moment when the Harlem Hellfighters, a unit that had long fought for their place in the American military, would earn the respect of their comrades and enemies alike. As they surge forward, storming the beaches of Normandy, they do so not only for their country but for their dignity and honor as men. The battle for Normandy has begun, and these brave men, these black soldiers, will show the world that they are as capable, as brave, and as vital to victory as any soldier in this war. The events of this day, though brutal and costly, will forever be remembered as the moment when the Harlem Hellfighters rose to the challenge, defied the odds, and changed the course of history. The year is 1944, and the world is engulfed in the most catastrophic conflict in history. The shadow of World War II looms large, and the stakes have never been higher. Across the globe, entire nations are embroiled in a brutal struggle for survival, power, and ideology. In Europe, the Axis forces, led by Nazi Germany, have swept across the continent, subjugating nations with devastating speed. The Third Reich's control stretches from the Atlantic coast to the heart of the Soviet Union. On the Eastern Front, the Soviet Union battles tirelessly to hold back the relentless German advance. Meanwhile, in the Pacific, Japan continues its brutal expansion across Asia, attacking and overwhelming nations with an unyielding resolve. But amidst this dark reality, a new alliance has formed. The Allies. United in their fight against tyranny, the United States, the United Kingdom, the Soviet Union, and other nations, though separated by vast oceans and political differences, have come together with one singular goal: the defeat of the Axis powers. Yet despite their unity, the road to victory is long, arduous, and fraught with peril. By 1944, the war in Europe has reached a critical juncture. The Nazis, though not yet defeated, are on the defensive. The Soviet Union has begun to push westward, reclaiming territory lost to the German invasion. In the West, the United Kingdom and the United States have carried out successful campaigns in North Africa and Italy. But the ultimate objective remains elusive: the liberation of Western Europe from Nazi control. The D-Day invasion, Operation Overlord, is the culmination of years of planning, of intelligence gathering, and of diplomatic negotiations. The date has been set, June 6, 1944. This will be the day the Allies launch their long-anticipated assault on the beaches of Normandy. The goal is simple: secure a beachhead, establish a foothold on the continent, and begin the long and bloody campaign to liberate France and, ultimately, defeat Nazi Germany. The build-up to this momentous day has been unprecedented. The Allies have spent months meticulously planning the invasion, gathering forces and coordinating operations. The United States and Britain have pooled their resources, and in a feat of military logistics, they have amassed a massive invasion force, numbering over 150,000 men, along with thousands of vehicles, aircraft, and tons of supplies. This is to be the largest amphibious assault ever attempted, and every detail has been scrutinized and prepared for. However, despite the vast scale of the operation, the element of surprise remains a crucial factor. The Germans, too, are well aware of the possibility of an Allied invasion. They have fortified the coast of Normandy with a network of bunkers, minefields, and barbed wire. But Hitler and his generals are uncertain as to where the Allies will strike. For months, they have been led to believe that the main invasion would occur in the Pas-de-Calais region, the narrowest part of the English Channel. This misdirection has led to a weakening of the German defenses in Normandy, giving the Allies a glimmer of hope. Yet as the hours tick down to the invasion, the tension is palpable. The air is heavy with uncertainty, and the men preparing for the landing are keenly aware of the risks. The Germans are not unprepared. Under the command of Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, the Nazi forces have dug in deep, placing their faith in their Atlantic Wall fortifications. They are waiting for the Allied assault, and they will not give up easily. For the men who are about to land, the personal stakes are enormous. Among them is the 369th Infantry Regiment, a battalion of African-American soldiers who have already proven themselves in combat during World War I. But since then, racial segregation has kept them out of the mainstream military units, relegating them to the fringes of the war effort. Still, they have fought valiantly in Europe and Africa, and they know that this invasion represents more than just another battle. For them, this is a moment to prove their worth, to show the world that they are every bit as capable, courageous, and determined as any white soldier. These men, the Harlem Hellfighters, have long fought against the dual enemy of Nazi Germany and racial prejudice. They have faced discrimination and adversity at every turn, but now, as they prepare to land on the beaches of Normandy, they understand the magnitude of the moment. They are not just fighting for their country, they are fighting for their dignity, for the right to be seen as equals, for the chance to prove that their courage and valor cannot be defined by the color of their skin. As dawn approaches on June 6, 1944, the world stands on the edge of a precipice. The war has raged for almost 5 years, but today marks the beginning of a new chapter. The Allied forces will land on the beaches of Normandy and take the fight to the heart of Nazi-occupied Europe. The fate of the war hinges on their success, and the soldiers who storm the beaches will become the heroes of a new era. The battle will be fierce, the loss is heavy, but the invasion represents the first step toward the liberation of Western Europe and the eventual defeat of Nazi Germany. For the Harlem Hellfighters, it is more than a military operation. It is their moment of reckoning, their chance to carve their names into the history of this war and to prove that they, too, are a force to be reckoned with. The moment the ramps drop, chaos descends. The men of the 29th Infantry Division, including the Harlem Hellfighters, pour out of their landing craft and onto the beaches of Normandy. The air is filled with the staccato roar of gunfire, the shrill whistle of incoming artillery, and the thunderous explosions that shake the very earth beneath their feet. The beach at Omaha is a killing field, littered with the bodies of soldiers who have fallen before them. The sand is slick with blood, and the air is thick with smoke and the acrid scent of burning fuel. Yet amidst the carnage, the men of the 369th Regiment press forward. The sounds of the battlefield may be deafening, but in the minds of these soldiers there is only one thing that matters: survival. The beach ahead, littered with obstacles, seems impossible to conquer. Barbed wire stretches across the sand, and machine gun nests are positioned on the cliffs above, firing down on the landing force with deadly precision. The soldiers must move quickly, for every second they hesitate means another life lost. As the men charge forward, their rifles raised and their faces set in grim determination, they come under heavy fire. The German forces, well entrenched in their positions, fire relentlessly, and the landing craft are targeted by artillery shells and mortar rounds. The soldiers are forced to take cover wherever they can, behind rocks, craters, and the remnants of their fallen comrades. The beach is an unforgiving place, but the men of the 369th Infantry Regiment have a singular goal in mind: to break through the German lines and secure the beachhead for the Allied forces. For the Harlem Hellfighters, this is more than just another battle. They are fighting not only for the success of the mission, but for their own pride and dignity. These men, who have fought for recognition throughout their entire military careers, now have the chance to prove themselves on the world's stage. This is their moment to show that their courage and valor are as great as any of their comrades, and they know that the eyes of the world are on them. One soldier, Private Samuel Johnson, recounts the moment in his journal years later. "We hit the beach and ran, no hesitation. Bullets were flying past me like angry bees. I saw men fall around me, but I couldn't stop. I had a job to do. We all had a job to do. And that was to get off that beach, take that hill, and show the world that we were as good as anyone." Despite the horrors they face, the men of the 369th Regiment press forward. They climb over obstacles, crawl through the sand, and advance inch by inch, fighting not just to survive but to succeed. The enemy is fierce, but the soldiers of the Harlem Hellfighters are resolute. They know what's at stake: their comrades, their country, and their future. Their bravery and perseverance serve as a beacon of hope in the darkness of war. As the hours pass, the tide of battle begins to shift. Slowly but surely, the men of the 369th Regiment, along with the rest of the Allied forces, begin to break through the German defenses. The beaches that once seemed impassable are now within reach. The fortified positions on the cliffs above are being overrun by the relentless advance of the Allies. The German forces, though determined, are beginning to falter. The turning point has arrived, but this victory comes at a high price. The cost of securing Normandy is immense. Thousands of men have fallen, and the casualties are staggering. But despite the horrors, the Allies hold their ground. The beaches are secured, and the first step in the liberation of France has been achieved. The momentum has shifted, and the Allied forces are now on the offensive. The significance of this victory cannot be overstated. The D-Day invasion is the largest amphibious assault in history, and its success marks the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany. The Nazis, though still formidable, have lost the initiative. They are now fighting a defensive war on multiple fronts, and their hold on Europe is beginning to crumble. The Allies, bolstered by their success on the beaches of Normandy, are poised to continue their advance toward Germany. For the men of the 369th Infantry Regiment, the battle at Normandy is not only a military victory but also a personal triumph. They have proven themselves on the battlefield, showing the world that their bravery is just as strong, just as fierce as any other soldier. Their courage under fire has earned them the respect they long sought, and they will carry the weight of that recognition with them for the rest of their lives. Their fight for equality in the military, for the chance to serve with honor and distinction, has been validated on the beaches of Normandy, where they stood shoulder to shoulder with their fellow soldiers, giving everything for the cause of freedom. As the battle moves inland, the men of the Harlem Hellfighters continue to press forward. The victory at Normandy has given them a sense of purpose, a sense of pride that will carry them through the darkest days of the war. They know that the road ahead will be long and fraught with danger, but they are ready for whatever comes. Their courage on D-Day has secured their place in history, and they will continue to fight, not only for victory but for the dignity of their people. In the days following the storming of Normandy, the world takes a collective breath. The Allies have secured a critical foothold on the continent, but the fight is far from over. As the soldiers move inland, fighting their way through the French countryside, the victory at Normandy becomes a symbol of hope and determination. The beaches may be secured, but the battle for Europe is just beginning. The personal and collective sacrifices of those who fought on D-Day will be etched into the annals of history. The soldiers of the 306th 9th Infantry Regiment, the Harlem Hellfighters, have done more than just storm a beach. They have broken barriers that had long been erected around them. These men, who had been segregated and often relegated to non-combat roles in earlier wars, proved their worth on the world stage. Their bravery under fire, their resolve in the face of overwhelming odds, and their willingness to lay down their lives for a cause greater than themselves have earned them a place in the legacy of World War II. It is no longer possible to deny their courage or their ability. This moment, when the Harlem Hellfighters fought side by side with other Allied soldiers on the beaches of Normandy, became a turning point not just for the war, but for the African American experience in the military. Their success proved that they were as capable as any other soldier, and it helped pave the way for desegregation in the U.S. military in the years that followed. The courage they demonstrated in battle, under the harshest of conditions, would eventually lead to recognition and respect from their comrades and commanders alike. The road to equality within the military was still long, but D-Day was an undeniable step forward. The strategic impact of the Normandy invasion cannot be overstated. The success of Operation Overlord fundamentally changed the course of World War II. The Germans, though initially confident, were now forced to fight a war on two fronts. The Soviet Union had already launched its own offensives in the east, and with the Allies now pressing forward from the west, the Nazis were beginning to feel the squeeze. By the time the Allies reached Paris in August 1944, the writing was on the wall for Nazi Germany. The Battle of Normandy had marked the beginning of the end for the Third Reich. The significance of D-Day reverberated far beyond the military sphere. The invasion marked the turning point in the war, but it also symbolized the strength of the Allied alliance. The coordinated effort between the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, and other Allied forces demonstrated the power of unity in the face of a common enemy. The invasion, which required unprecedented coordination of logistics, intelligence, and manpower, showcased what could be achieved when nations put aside their differences and worked together for a single, unified purpose. As the Allies pushed eastward, liberated territory grew in both size and importance. The liberation of France, followed by Belgium, the Netherlands, and eventually Germany, laid the groundwork for the ultimate defeat of the Nazis. The United States, which had entered the war later than its European allies, found itself in a position of global leadership. The successful execution of Operation Overlord and the subsequent victories on the Western Front solidified America's role as a dominant military and economic power on the world stage. But the cost of victory was immense. The men who fought on D-Day and the soldiers who would follow them in the months and years to come paid a terrible price. Over 425,000 Allied and German soldiers lost their lives during the Battle of Normandy. The human toll was staggering, and the devastation on the ground was beyond comprehension. Entire towns were destroyed, and the landscape of France was irrevocably altered. The scars of war would remain for generations to come. For the Harlem Hellfighters, the legacy of D-Day is not only one of military triumph, but also of personal fulfillment. These soldiers, who had endured racial prejudice and segregation, finally had the opportunity to prove themselves as equals. They had fought in the same battles, bled in the same trenches, and emerged victorious in the same cause. Their bravery and sacrifice were not only for their country, but for their dignity. The stories of these men, the first African-American soldiers to storm the beaches of Normandy, would be told for years to come. The victory at Normandy shifted the momentum of the war and ultimately led to the fall of Nazi Germany in May 1945. The Allies' successful invasion of France opened up the Western Front, and the relentless push eastward left the Nazis with no place to retreat. The capture of Paris in August 1944 was a significant milestone, but it was D-Day that set the stage for everything that followed. It was the day that the Allied forces reclaimed Europe, and it was the day that the men of the Harlem Hellfighters earned their rightful place in history. As the war came to a close, The world would forever remember the bravery of those who fought on D-Day. The Harlem Hellfighters, in particular, would be hailed as heroes, not just for their military accomplishments but for their role in challenging the prejudices of their time. Their courage, determination, and unwavering sense of duty paved the way for future generations of African Americans to serve in the military without discrimination. Today, the beaches of Normandy stand as a memorial to the sacrifices made by those who fought there. The story of D-Day is one of heroism, unity, and the relentless pursuit of freedom. And the legacy of the Harlem Hellfighters, who fought not just for victory but for their place in history, will continue to inspire generations to come.